No, God, please, no! 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 No!
What is up? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you with episode 461. I am your host, Greg Morgan. I'm up here to give you your Raw and SmackDown reviews for October 9th and 10th, 2017. We've got a lot of other stuff to get into as well. Of course, we're right off the heels of Hell in the Cell this past Sunday on the WWE Network, and we will also look ahead and preview the next Raw brand pay-per-view TLC coming up in a couple of weeks. In addition to that, I will talk about a couple of notable absences on Monday Night Raw that left us all a little bit curious, a potential release in WWE, a major release, that is, in WWE. We've got a crazy confrontation between Santino Marella and Jim Cornette to talk about, my opinions on Roman Reigns potentially burying the Young Bucks and some recent comments that he made about them, an apparent WWE casualty due to the Bullet Club invasion a few weeks ago, and possibly even some thoughts on Conor McGregor one day making an appearance in WWE. So let's start off with Raw first. And Raw was a pretty good show. I was not home to see it again. I am in the middle of like 100 days in a row. I don't think I've had a day off in October yet, and I am exhausted. So I had to work yet again during a WWE show, which pissed me off. I wasn't able to be home to live tweet and watch the whole thing unfold as it happened. But a lot of the feedback I was getting from you guys and a lot of the updates that you guys were sending me via Twitter or Facebook or whatever were very positive. A lot of you guys were marking out over the Shield, and you figured that I would do the same. So when I got a chance to take a look at Raw, I basically did the same. Now, this past week on Raw really solidified the fact that the Shield is back together as a unit. They closed out the show last week on Raw backstage, kind of staring at each other and nodding, so we knew it was inevitable that the band would be back together, and that was confirmed on Monday night. We even have a match announced at TLC, which I'll talk about here in a minute, but Monday Night Raw opened up with a Miz TV segment. He's in the ring with Sheamus and Cesaro and Curtis Axel. Conspicuous by his absence is Bo Dallas. And not only was Bo Dallas not on the show, but neither was Bray Wyatt. He was in a segment that apparently was pre-taped that I'll talk about here in a few minutes, but apparently these two brothers were not backstage at Raw, and I think they were even pulled from some live events recently as well. So I hope whatever is going on with the Rotundo family, everything is okay. This clearly must be a family issue if neither guy is on Raw and they've been given time off. I'm not really sure what's going on. I tried to look at some wrestling news, couldn't find any information on it. I even tweeted all of you and asked you guys if anybody knew the latest on Bo and Bray, and nobody really has any answers. So whatever's going on with them, I wish them and their family nothing but the best. So Bo Dallas was not out there, like I said, but Kurt Axel was, and so was Sheamus and Cesaro. The Miz hands out Mizzies. He had some more Mizzies made, which was fucking hilarious. And then finally, Roman Reigns' music hits, and the crowd cheered. Holy shit, they fucking cheered, because I think they thought all of the members of the Shield were going to come out. It was just Roman Reigns at first, tells all four of those guys to get out of his ring. And then that's when Miz makes the mistake of saying, oh, you think you're so big and bad and tough, talking trash up there all alone? Why don't you come down to this ring and see if you can take the four of us on? And that's when Dean Ambrose's music hits, the crowd goes nuts, and then Seth Rollins' music hits, and he comes out, and the three of them stand there, and they do the old Shield thing where they walk down to the ring and they surround the ring. And they completely trap everybody, beat the shit out of Sheamus and Cesaro and Kurt Axel, leaving The Miz all by himself. There's nowhere to run. They've got him cornered. Get him in the ring and nail him with the triple power bomb, and then did the Shield fist bump at the end. I cried tears of joy and used the tears as lube. I was so happy to see these guys come full circle and come back together where it all began. I didn't know this, but apparently that's the building. I think they were in Indiana. Am I right? That's where they debuted, that's where they broke up, and that's where they got back together. That's pretty fucking cool. So as far as the Shield reunion goes, I couldn't be happier. And the Shield wouldn't be done. Matt Hardy took on Braun Strowman a little bit later on. Braun Strowman, of course, makes quick work of Matt Hardy. After the match, he throws him over his shoulder, and he starts to walk up the ramp with him to do more damage, and that's when Braun Strowman is cut off by the Shield. All three guys come out there. They attack him. He tries to fight him off at first, but eventually the numbers game catches up to Braun. They beat the absolute hell out of him. Roman hits him with an awesome spear when Dean and Seth are holding him in place, and then they triple power bomb Braun Strowman through the announce table, which looked awesome. Sick bump by Braun Strowman. I brought this up in my last commentary. I said eventually the Shield is going to be in there with Braun Strowman and they're going to give him the triple power bomb. And they did it right away here in the first week. Later on, Braun Strowman shows back up and demands the Shield, or I think it's The Miz who's backstage, and he's being attended to by the doctors, and that's when Kurt Angle comes in and informs The Miz that it will in fact be The Miz, Sheamus, and Cesaro versus the Shield at TLC. So we knew we were going to get some sort of a six-man match, and that was made official on Monday Night Raw. But after the Shield got done beating the hell out of Braun Strowman, The Miz approaches Kurt Angle again and says, hey, after they got done kicking our asses, they cut a promo and said that they'll take on anybody, 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, whatever, and somehow convinces Kurt Angle to let The Miz add a 4th guy. And he says, I've already found my partner, and then Braun Strowman kicks down a door and joins The Miz, and apparently now it's going to be the Shield versus 4 guys, The Miz, Sheamus, Cesaro, and Braun Strowman. I actually don't like this. I think that I see what WWE's trying to do here. I think that they are assuming that the fans are assuming that the Shield is going to win any match that they're in. There's no 3 guys that can beat them 3-on-3. So maybe to add some doubt to the match and add some more suspense, they're going to add 4 guys and make it like a handicap match type of thing. But I don't want that 4th guy to be Braun Strowman. That's not going to do him any favors when the Shield beats all 4 of these guys at TLC. So I'm actually not in favor of the 4-on-3 scenario. I mean, maybe it could work. I'm sure the match will still be awesome. The Shield is still going to do their thing, and the fans are going to go nuts for it, but I don't know how I feel about Braun Strowman being that 4th guy. I suppose they can always book it by having Braun Strowman not get the pin or anything like that, or maybe he gets distracted or brawls on the outside of the ring, and he's 10 miles away from the ring when the finish goes down, so it really has nothing to do with him. We still don't know the status of Samoa Joe yet either. Maybe he could make a return at TLC, but I think this is kind of, you know, the WWE is putting the Shield back together to, number one, sell some pay-per-views or sell some network subscriptions, because we're not going to get a world title match on the show. Brock's not booked. So they need something big to go down. And also, they seem desperate to get Roman Reigns over. And I think at least for the first week, they succeeded in that. I mean, Roman Reigns was getting cheered. I had mentioned in previous commentaries that in order for the Shield to really work, they need to come out together as a unit the way they used to. Back with the old Shield music coming down through the audience, into the ring, surrounding the ring, doing all that shit they used to do. And if they came out separately to individual musics, I was worried that Roman Reigns would still get booed. But we didn't see that on Raw. He was actually cheered. But I think at least for the pay-per-view, when we get to TLC, hold off the Shield entrance until then. That would be perfect. I couldn't be happier that the Shield is back together. They even debuted new t-shirts, new merchandise on Raw. We saw that after the beatdown. They were all walking and talking backstage and did an interview, and they were all rocking the new Shield gear. So hopefully this is not just a TLC-only pay-per-view situation, and that's it. You know, the Shield doesn't have to be together 24/7 or anything, but I would like to see them continue to team up from time to time for the next several months. I don't want it to be a one-and-done type of situation. I would like to see these brothers back on the same page again. It was just, I was such a big fan of them before. I really want this to work out, and I hope that it does, and so far so good. As far as this first week, WWE still has plenty of time to fuck it up, but as far as the first week or two of this, I'm very happy with what I've been seeing with the Shield reunion. I mentioned Bo Dallas's absence earlier on. Bray Wyatt was on the show. He did have a presence on the show. He did another vignette or a promo with Finn Balor. Finn Balor was in the ring, cutting a promo on Bray Wyatt. Bray appears on the screen, and he starts morphing into Sister Abigail, and he's almost got a half female voice and a half Bray Wyatt voice. So the more we see this angle unfold, it's starting to look like Sister Abigail will not be a new female performer. It's going to be Bray Wyatt himself, which is just goofy as hell. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if it's going to work. The alter ego idea is not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes it can work, but this seems so out there. I don't even know what to make of it. And I don't know how Bray Wyatt's look is going to change. Is he going to come out there and drag? I mean, how is he going to dress? What's he going to look like? Is he going to wear face paint? And what's going to happen? You know, it's got to be that way, right? I mean, what sense would it make for a female to be brought into the mix here? She can't face Finn Balor in a match. And Finn Balor is not associated with any other females right now, so there's no one for her to even go after. So looks like it's going to be Bray Wyatt himself playing the role of Sister Abigail. And maybe, he'll have a match with Finn Balor at TLC and she'll win, I should say. Sister Abigail will win. And then maybe after that, we get a blow off the Demon versus Sister Abigail. That's the only thing I can think of at this point. But this whole thing is very crazy. And I'm just ready for this program to end. There have been a few rumors of Finn Balor facing Brock Lesnar next for the Universal title. Still don't know who Brock Lesnar's next opponent is going to be when he finally does come back. But Finn Balor's name has been tossed around along with the likes of Seth Rollins and others. So if Finn Balor can hurry up and wrap up business with Bray and Sister Abigail, maybe he can move himself back into Universal title contention. We also had a pretty good segment between Mickie James and Alexa Bliss. I'm finding myself enjoying this program much more than I thought I would. When they brought in Mickie to be Alexa's next challenger, I'm like, okay, yeah, no big deal. This is something I'm only going to pay half-ass attention to. But I like the theme of this feud because Alexa Bliss is really hammering home the point that Mickie James is old, which fucking offends me because I'm older than Mickie James. But I really like some of the jokes that Alexa Bliss has been cutting and talking about Mickie James and her wrinkles and all the different things she's been saying over the past couple of weeks. And then as Mickie is in the ring cutting a promo on Alexa, she comes out to the ramp and shows a video on the Titantron, like a 1940s style video showing highlights of Mickie James' career, which was really well done and had me laughing my ass off. Mickie had a pretty good line where I think she called Alexa Bliss biscuit butt, which I kind of found amusing because her ass does kind of look like a biscuit, a very, very, very tasty, buttery biscuit. And after that, Alexa Bliss is called out into the ring. She actually goes in there. Mickie attacks her, beats the crap out of her, and runs her off. And that's going to be your match at TLC for the Raw Women's title, Mickie James versus Alexa Bliss. At this point, I expect Alexa Bliss to retain. I don't know if Mickie James will take the belt from her or not. I doubt it, especially with Asuka debuting on that very same show after she gets done beating the hell out of Emma, who incidentally won a fatal five-way elimination match, I should say, on Raw. She earned the right to face Asuka at TLC, which I thought was a funny match. Who in the hell would want to face Asuka at TLC? Why would 5 women want to compete for this opportunity? If I was in that match, I would hope to lose. I would get myself intentionally pinned just so I don't have to get my ass handed to me by Asuka. But anyway, it will be Asuka and Emma at TLC, and that will not be a difficult match to predict, to say the least. We also had a couple of random singles matches on Raw. We had Jason Jordan defeating Carl Anderson, and we had Elias Sampson defeating Apollo Crews again. We had a Cruiserweight tag match. Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher beat Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. And the main event for the 3rd week in a row, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 3 weeks in a row, the Cruiserweights have main evented Monday Night Raw. I think this is great. I really have no issue with it. The underlying story here, or the big news behind the scenes, is something completely different as it relates to Neville. But as far as what we saw in the main event, we had Enzo out there cutting a promo earlier on in the show, bragging about the fact that he's the Cruiserweight champion. He's elevated 205 Live. Kurt Angle ends up coming out there. They exchange words with each other. Enzo is pissed that Kalisto kicked his ass last week on Raw because he has this clause that says nobody can put their hands on him. And Kurt Angle is like, hey, Kalisto never signed that. And this was signed before he came to the Cruiserweight division, so he can do whatever he wants to you. And by the way, you're not going to face Kalisto for the Cruiserweight title at TLC. You're going to face him for the Cruiserweight title tonight. And then he also makes it a lumberjack match. So Kurt Angle books Enzo against Kalisto 1 week into the Cruiserweight division in a lumberjack match for the title in the main event of Raw. And that was Enzo's condition. He says, fine, if you're going to make me defend the title, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do it if it's the main event of Raw. And they shake hands and agree, and the match was set. And I think that's great. You know, they need to try to get, 205 Live is on the WWE Network. It's a show, even though it hasn't been that great, it's still a part of WWE. They still have to try to make it work. And I think this is their attempt to try to make it work, putting Enzo over there, making him a heel, doing some of the things that they've done with him so far in the past few weeks. 205 Live and the Cruiserweight division has been the most interesting it's been. I actually put over Enzo a couple of commentaries ago. You know I hate this guy. You know how he drives me nuts, and he's annoying as hell, but he's an amazing heel. And I think he's exactly what the Cruiserweight division needed. I really had no problem with him low blowing and pinning Neville. It's not like he beat him clean or anything. It's not a disgrace. It's not a burial of Neville. It's a way to get heat. He's got a shit ton of it. And he's done great things so far as this heel Cruiserweight champion. And then he goes out there and has his match with Kalisto. And, of course, all the Cruiserweights are against Enzo. And the finish was marvelous. What a beautiful top rope Salida del Sol. Nails it picture perfectly and scores the 1-2-3 and wins the Cruiserweight title in a big surprise in the main event of Raw, which was also, I believe, Eddie Guerrero's birthday. Am I hearing that right? So that was a nice little tribute to him. And I saw that Kalisto had tweeted out something to Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, maybe thanking them for being inspirations in his career or whatever. So it was a really good moment. And it was a really good match. And Enzo didn't even look that horrible. He's not that great in the ring, but he looked okay. And he even had Kalisto beat once. And I think one of the Lumberjacks had to interrupt the match. So, Enzo didn't look completely weak in this match, but eventually he was defeated by Kalisto. We got a new Cruiserweight champion. And the rumor on the street is, or the rumor in the dirt sheets and on the internet, is that this match was scheduled to be Neville versus Enzo, and Enzo was scheduled to retain. There is this big rumor going around out there that Neville has quit the WWE. I am devastated. I cannot believe this. This breaks my heart. I really hope this is not true. I really hope this is a work. I really hope this turns out to be a storyline. I'm shocked that Neville would even want his release. I had a lot of people tweeting me and saying things like, oh, I don't blame him for wanting his release. He's in this 205 Live prison and he can't get out and his talents are being wasted and this and that. And Neville even tweeted out not long ago, trashing his merchandise. Apparently a new shirt came out for him and it was very boring, very bland, and he was pissed. And he let WWE know about it in a tweet saying, hey, creative monkeys, this is the best you can come up with. And the shirt was pretty ugly, I'll give him that, but I was really surprised that he tweeted that out. He gives zero fucks, to say the least. We don't know what's going on backstage. Neville may have been requesting to be out of the Cruiserweight division for some time. Maybe WWE is ignoring him. Maybe they're not adhering to any of his other requests backstage, or whatever the situation is. But this idea that he's being wasted, I don't believe that. Trust me, I would like nothing more than for Neville to be on the main roster. I think that he eventually will get there because he's a really good heel and he's been reinvented since his heel turn. And there's a lot of guys he can be working with on the main roster and have awesome matches with and awesome programs with. And I 100% agree that if he was on the main roster, he would be great. But at the same time, this heel turn is still relatively new. He has been on the main roster before, as we all remember, and when he was there, he was kind of a floundering babyface. He was winning some matches, he was losing some matches, but he wasn't doing anything of significance until he got to the Cruiserweight roster, until he got to 205 Live. He won the title and had like a 9-month title reign. I can't believe this guy is requesting a release after having one of the most impressive title runs in WWE history. That's pretty awesome. And I am a huge Neville fan. I kiss this guy's ass and suck his dick in every commentary. I think he's amazing. And I am so devastated if this turns out to be true and he's actually leaving the WWE. I think this is a huge loss. And like I said, we don't know what the story is. Some fans are immediately going to say, oh, he's fed up with his position and this and that, and he wants out of there. I don't think this is a situation like Dolph Ziggler or Rusev where somebody's just being buried. Neville was not being buried. Neville was being booked like a badass. Neville was being booked as an unstoppable monster. Nobody could take that belt off of him. So I really didn't have a problem with the way they were booking Neville. I just wish I could have seen him work with other guys on the main roster, and I didn't think that Neville was going to be stuck on 205 Live forever. Eventually, he would get out of there. They'd run an angle where he'd cut a promo and say, I want to come to Raw, or I want to go to SmackDown, or I want out of the Cruiserweight division. I'm too good for this division. I've beaten everybody. I've done everything that there is to do. I want to be in the main roster, and they could have easily worked out a storyline that would put him there. So the only thing I can think of is that if he really did request his release and he wants to leave, he might have been requesting to exit the Cruiserweight division, and WWE denies him and say, no, we have no plans to move you to the main roster. You're going to stay in the Cruiserweight division forever, and that's the end of that. End of discussion. If they said that, then I can understand him wanting a release. Otherwise, I really don't know. It could be something completely different. It could have to do with money, could have to do with payoffs or other contract situations. Obviously, he wasn't happy with his t-shirt and his merchandise. Maybe he doesn't feel the company is investing as much as they should in him. There's a lot of different things that it could be. But from a fan like myself, or just me personally looking at the situation, if I'm going to form my opinion, I don't know what he's so upset about. This is the best he's done so far in the WWE. Yes, he's in the Cruiserweight division. Yes, he's kind of stuck there, but he's still been incredibly entertaining. He's been able to hone his skills. He's been able to perfect being a heel. He's gotten better on the mic. He's really evolved in the Cruiserweight division and become a better WWE performer. We already know that he's a 5-star ring performer. He's that inside or outside of the WWE. But as far as being a character and developing that personality that the WWE audience gets to know, he's really done a good job of that on 205 Live, and I don't think that this guy has the worst gig in the world. You know, other guys like Austin Aries, he was getting frustrated. He wasn't doing anything. He was left off the WrestleMania DVD, you know, and he had other issues backstage. There's some talent out there that it's just not working out for them in WWE. But with Neville, I thought WWE liked Neville. They pushed him to the moon. The only guy being pushed harder than Neville in the past 9 months was Braun Strowman. I mean, Neville was kicking everybody's ass. So, you know, from where I sit, I'm surprised. If the rumors are true and Neville truly does want his release and he is asked to leave, I'm kind of surprised about that. I thought WWE was treating the guy pretty well. Whatever the issue there is, I hope it gets worked out. I hope this is not the last time we have seen Neville on WWE TV. And apparently whatever went on with him backstage is kind of the reason that they put the title on Kalisto on Monday. I don't think the original plan was to do that from what we have read. That was kind of a last-minute, split-second decision. I don't know if that was to stick it to Neville. Maybe WWE's pissed off at him for not cooperating. There's even rumors that he actually walked out. So I don't know if he was sent home or if he really walked out. Or maybe he wanted to do something and WWE wanted to do something else and he took his ball and went home. We don't know the severity of this. And I'm really hoping that it turns out to be a storyline and Neville comes back. But if he doesn't, you know the guy's going to be a huge success elsewhere if WWE lets him go and grants him a release. Think of all the places he can go and work. I mean, he can go anywhere. He can go Japan, Ring of Honor. He can even go to Impact if they can afford him. Probably not. But no matter where he goes, there's lots of guys out there that he can have great matches with. And, you know, he'll do just fine. He might even be happier. He might be sitting back at home and watching the internet and watching how well a guy like Cody Rhodes is doing in the independent scene. And he might want to get himself a piece of that and take a break and work an easier schedule and probably make almost as much money. So, you know, like I said, we don't know what the situation is. Everything that I've read so far is not really given us any concrete facts on what exactly is going on here. But, I really don't want Neville to leave. I'm a huge fan of his, and I would be super bummed out if he's gone from the WWE forever. So that pretty much wraps it up for Raw. Moving on to SmackDown now. This is the fallout, of course, from Hell in the Cell last Sunday, an amazing show. Those of you who have not yet seen or heard my Hell in the Cell results video, please click the top right-hand corner of the screen. Go give that video a look. I uploaded it very late because I had to work a 14-hour day on Sunday, and I missed Hell in the Cell, and I had to watch it very late at night. And I had to upload my results and reaction video about 12 hours late, which costed me a ton of views. This thing has shit for views. I don't even think it has 3,000 views yet. So if you don't mind, give that thing a view and a like and a listen, and I would appreciate it. Now, we fast forward to SmackDown. The show opens up with the Usos and the New Day cutting a promo. They came out there and basically showed respect to each other, and they talked about a possible truce. I think the New Day called it an Us truce, which I kind of thought was funny. Very passionate promo by both teams, especially the Usos. They said that they belong here and they are the tag team division, and tag team wrestling has never been better in the WWE because of those two teams. Reminded me a lot of 1999 after the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian had that epic ladder match that really put both teams' careers on the map. Had it not been for that match, I don't know if those four gentlemen would have been as big a stars as they became. And that was a big night for them. And the next night on Raw, they came out and showed respect and shook hands and all of that. This sort of reminded me of that a little bit. And the Usos and New Day had some nice things to say about each other. And as soon as they're about to go to shake hands, they are interrupted by the Hype Bros, by the Ascension, by Breezango, and by Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. And that prompts Daniel Bryan to come out, and he orders the Usos and the New Day to leave the ring, and he makes a fatal four-way #1 contenders match right there between all four of those teams. And Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin wind up winning the fatal four-way, and I think they will challenge now the Usos for the tag team titles. So it kind of looks like the New Day and the Usos program has ended. I don't know if they're going to get another match out of these two teams or not. Technically, you would think that the New Day does have a rematch clause, but maybe they're not going to invoke it right now. And maybe the Usos at least have another match in another program for a little while. I'm pretty sure the matches between the Usos and Shelton and Gable will probably be pretty good. We have been kind of getting the feeling that Shelton Benjamin might end up turning on Chad Gable. Maybe this is where they do it. Maybe they want to keep the titles on the Usos for a little while. If they're not going to be wrestling the New Day anymore, I think the Usos should hold on the belts for a few months and have a nice long run. They sure as hell worked their asses off for this title. I would hate to see them lose it at the very next pay-per-view. So maybe they do the heel turn with Shelton Benjamin and Gable whenever these two teams face each other for the titles, whether it be at Survivor Series or on SmackDown itself. That might be what they do there, but I'm not interested in seeing the Usos drop the belt right now. If they're going to move on from the New Day and face another team, have them hold it at least until the end of the year. That would be the best thing for them, at least in my humble opinion. We had a tag team match between Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Rusev and Aiden English. Orton and Nakamura won that. I think Orton hit Rusev with an RKO, and Shinsuke hit Aiden English with his finisher, and they got the pin. And Randy Orton and Nakamura had a successful alliance. I don't know what either of these two guys are going to do. I didn't see Jinder Mahal on the show, so I don't know who his next opponent is going to be, if Nakamura is going to get another match or not, or who Shinsuke Nakamura is going to work with. Randy Orton might be finished with Rusev. I mean, he's still working with him on TV, but I'm hoping we don't see another match between those two. In my mind, there's no reason to see another one. So I really don't know what any of those four gentlemen are going to be doing heading into Survivor Series. We also had Becky Lynch tapping out Carmella in a one-on-one match. We had a promo between Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Roode is in the ring cutting a promo on his match on Sunday with Ziggler, and Ziggler comes out and says that Bobby Roode cheated because he had a handful of tights. And Roode is like, look, if you want a rematch, you got it. Why don't we do it right now? Ziggler says no, he'll invoke his rematch, or he'll want his rematch on his time when he feels best and whatever, and he walks away. So the pending rematch between those two is still yet to be determined. We don't know when that match is going to happen. Probably on SmackDown, and probably in the next couple of weeks, if I had to guess. And Bobby Roode will, I guess, wrap up business with Ziggler. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if this is a 3-match or possibly even 4-match program here. I think the next match, Ziggler will win, and then after that, Bobby Roode will finish him off. So maybe if they have a match on SmackDown, they will have Ziggler win by holding a handful of tights. I know I'm kind of jumping around SmackDown a lot, but I had a particular order I wanted to go in here as far as talking about these angles. The SmackDown main event saw Baron Corbin retaining the United States title by defeating AJ Styles in a one-on-one match, and he defeated him clean for the most part. Hit him with the end of days for the win, cut a promo with Renee Young after the match, rubbing it in the faces of all the fans who've been giving him so much shit for so long, and that's how the show ends. So Baron Corbin, I think, might be moving on to another challenger now that he's finished up with AJ Styles, and whatever AJ is going to do, I have no idea. Hopefully AJ can get himself back in the world title mix. And he had a good little run there with the U.S. belt, and now he put Corbin over. And Corbin can now try to get back on the map and become a main player, and maybe he can work himself back up to being a title contender after everything was taken away from him a few months ago. We also had a very strange vignette. We're going to get a new tag team debuting on SmackDown, and this is Erick Rowan and Luke Harper have a new look, and they've got a new name. They're called the Bludgeon Brothers. And when I watched the promo, it was very strange. They had their backs turned, and they finally turned around, and Erick Rowan still had on the sheep's mask. He took that off, and they've got these big giant, like, they look so fake. They're these big sledgehammer type things, and they look like they're plastic. Luke Harper just said his own name, and Erick Rowan said his, and then they collectively said Bludgeon Brothers together, and the camera almost like stayed on the two of them too long, and I was waiting for both of them to laugh. And I can tell right now that this is not going to work. This gimmick looks silly to me. I'm a huge Luke Harper fan. I think this guy could be world champion if WWE would push him properly. But putting him back with Erick Rowan, they've already tried this a couple of times when they haven't been able to figure out what to do with these guys in singles. I think they've reunited these two more than once, if I'm not mistaken. And it's never worked out. And it seemed like a very Ascension type of gimmick. Like if they finally do debut, they'll probably win their first couple of matches, but they'll probably turn into the Ascension or Gallows and Anderson or a team like that. That's just what I see happening here, unless WWE pulls the ultimate swerve. And when I saw how weird this promo or this vignette was, it just seemed odd to me, and I almost found it funny. I don't know if WWE even knew how silly this was. And there's one talent that I thought of, and that was Brodus Clay. Remember when he was about to debut? Didn't they run vignettes that gave the fans the impression that this is going to be some crazy, scary, ass-kicking monster? And then when he debuted, he came out dancing with the Funkadactyls and all that shit. And so what I'm thinking here is maybe Luke Harper and Erick Rowan do something similar. Maybe all of these vignettes, they try to be very scary with their sledgehammers and their Bludgeon Brothers and their weird outfits and their promos and the dark, ominous tone to their vignettes. And then when they come out, they're wearing bright colors and they're dancing around, or they're doing something that's the complete opposite of what we thought we were going to see. And to me, that would be pretty funny, because this initial little vignette didn't scare me, didn't make me excited to see the team debut. It almost made me laugh because it was just hokey and it was weird and I didn't understand it. So I could be completely wrong. They might debut and dominate and kick everybody's ass, and the fans might love them, and they'll be 20-time tag team champions and the most over team in history. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I'll be the first one to admit it. But right now, on the surface, the first 20 seconds of this gimmick that I've seen, I'm not thinking it's going to translate very well, and I think it's going to turn out to be a situation where they are no higher on the card than they ever were, or no higher on the card than other tag teams like the Ascension or like Gallows and Anderson, or any other team that they just haven't done enough with. So I'm not optimistic about this angle or this new team at all, unless they swerve us and do something opposite like they did with Brodus Clay. And of course, the final thing I will talk about on SmackDown is the big explanation from Sami Zayn. We were all anticipating this promo. He was going to come out and explain his actions at Hell in the Cell, why he saved Kevin Owens, why he turned heel. And a lot of us have been calling for a Sami Zayn heel turn for a while, and a lot of people questioned whether or not Sami Zayn could make a good heel. And I mentioned in my Hell in the Cell results video that we should give Sami Zayn a chance. He might surprise us, and I think his promo on SmackDown was really good. This guy might actually be a better heel than he was a babyface. Imagine that. Just on the surface, when you see Sami Zayn, you see who he is, you see who his WWE persona and character is, and everything that he's done in NXT and the main roster. You can't imagine this guy as anything other than a babyface. And a heel turn is just something that we didn't think Sami Zayn could do. But he's good on the mic, and he cut a really good promo, and he basically said that even though him and Kevin Owens have a storied history, they've been best friends, they've been bitter enemies, but they've always been brothers. And he said after Shane McMahon blew him off last week and treated him like a piece of crap, which I made reference to, a couple of weeks ago, and everybody's just shitting on Sami Zayn. He goes, all I did was try to go up to Shane McMahon and give him some advice and warn him about how crazy Kevin Owens is, because I know him better than anybody, and he told me to mind my own business. So he decided at that moment, once he saw Shane McMahon, who already had Kevin Owens beat, he admitted and told Kevin Owens straight up, hey, sorry to tell you, buddy, but Shane had you beat. And it wasn't enough for him to just beat you. He had to climb up to the cell and do all that shit. And so I pulled you out of the way, and I didn't want him to win that way. And at the end of it, Kevin Owens thanks him, and they hug, and it's just this great, joyous love fest, which I thought was great. In storyline, it doesn't make much logical sense because Kevin Owens nearly killed Chris Jericho, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have their history, so I don't know how long this alliance can last, but I really like the heel turn by Sami Zayn. I can't imagine Kevin Owens leaving and going to Raw now. I think the two of them need to stay together for a while on SmackDown. So maybe those rumors of Kevin Owens moving to Raw, there was never anything to them, and he's going to stick around on SmackDown, which I think is great. I think him and Kevin Owens, or him and Sami Zayn, I should say, can make a great pairing, and it can really help Sami Zayn develop and evolve his heel persona now, because he's very good on the mic, and he can get very vicious and mad and angry sometimes. So I would like to see this side of Sami Zayn. I think he's going to do a good job with it. And I think that he needs to, because he's got to do something. He hasn't been doing shit on SmackDown since he's gotten there. He's really been floundering, and a lot of people have been begging and screaming for this guy to get an opportunity. So now with this heel turn, this could be good stuff. And so far, I'm very pleased and very impressed with what I've seen from Sami Zayn as far as his heel work goes. And I think it's only going to get better. And him aligning himself with Kevin Owens is going to allow him to get a ton of heat. And the two of them on the mic together being heels should be magical. Now, when Shane McMahon comes back, we don't know what's going to happen there. But right now, from what I've seen, I'm excited about this Sami Zayn heel turn. This makes me want to tune into SmackDown. I'm curious how the Sami Zayn heel turn is going to play out, how the WWE is going to treat him, if how much this is going to elevate him, if any. I'm hoping for the best, and I have my fingers crossed that the Sami Zayn heel turn is a huge success, and I think a lot of you feel the same way I do. I was hearing a lot of praise about Sami Zayn from all of you on social media and some of the things you were telling me. So it sounds like a lot of people are very excited and intrigued by Sami Zayn making an attempt at a heel run. And I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. So SmackDown was a pretty good show, and so was Raw. I didn't really have that many issues with either show. I mean, neither show is ever going to be perfect these days, but it's rare where we get a week where both shows are pretty damn solid. Before I get out of here, there's a couple of other news items I just want to touch on, and one of them pertains to Roman Reigns. I read this, and I kind of thought it was funny. Roman Reigns spoke out, I guess, against the Young Bucks. We know that the Young Bucks are in a little bit of trouble with WWE right now. WWE sent them cease and desist to stop using the too sweet hand gesture, which is something they've been doing for years. It's been on their merchandise. It's part of their act. And because they went out there and did that invasion in front of Raw a few weeks ago and took pictures, apparently that really did piss WWE off. I can't believe that it does. Why would they even care? I thought it was pretty awesome. If WWE really believes in their head that they're this unstoppable, untouchable monster and no other wrestling promotion or no other wrestling talent can ever threaten them in any way, why would they just not ignore these guys? Let them go out there, have their fun, take their pictures, put it on social media. It's not really doing anything to make the WWE look bad, but they got their panties in a bunch about it and decided after all this time, after ignoring what the Young Bucks were doing for all these years, now all of a sudden they want to affect these guys' livelihoods and a lot of what they do and their persona and their merchandise sales and all this, and send them a cease and desist. So they're kind of assholes for that. And apparently Jimmy Jacobs, who works in a backstage capacity in WWE, has either been let go or quit because he went out there and took a picture with the Bullet Club and it went on social media and that pissed WWE off, so he's gone. But what I wanted to mention about Roman Reigns is where I saw him criticizing the Young Bucks for using the too sweet hand gesture. And he was saying things like, come on, you know, I don't understand why wrestlers have to mimic the past and do things that have already been done. This is a new era. This is a new day. If you want to get over, you have to be yourself and be original and all this shit, which made no sense at all. Think of what this motherfucker's catchphrase is. This is my yard. He stole that. Think about Elias Sampson doing the Undertaker's old school top rope move. You got Aiden English on SmackDown doing a Hunter Hearst Helmsley bow. You have Breezango doing the Freebird Knaves thing, or a variation of it. Everybody borrows things. Everybody's character is influenced by somebody else. And there's lots of little nuances and little things that wrestlers do that they've taken from other wrestlers in the past. What Roman Reigns said was so incredibly stupid, I couldn't believe it. I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I love the guy. I love his family. I think that he's a million times better wrestler than the fans give him credit for. And yes, he has some issues. And yes, I understand why fans boo him. But I also don't think he's the Antichrist. But in this situation, he's completely wrong. That is such a stupid thing to say. And why even open up your mouth? Why even acknowledge what the Young Bucks are doing, and why even express an opinion about that at all? Because you know when you do, you're going to piss off at least half of the people reading your shit. And on top of that, for him to say those particular things, saying, oh, be more original, just look around your own damn dressing room. Look around your own company. Look around the WWE and look at how many talents take elements from stars of the past and weave it in to their personas and their characters. That's something that's been done forever. Look at Chris Benoit and Dynamite Kid's in-ring style. They're identical. Listen to Matt Bourne and Roddy Piper's mic style. They're identical. Everybody fucking does this, and I thought it was a pretty stupid comment by Roman Reigns. Also, for those of you who have been asking my opinions on the hilarious confrontation that apparently happened at a wrestling convention in Detroit, I think, between Jim Cornette and Santino Marella. It was caught on video. Apparently, Santino confronted Jim Cornette because Jim Cornette has talked a lot of shit about Santino Marella over the years. Those of you who have read or seen Jim Cornette's opinions on things over the years, he's a very animated, over-the-top, angry human being. I love Jim Cornette. I'm one of the biggest Jim Cornette fans walking planet Earth. I like his philosophy on wrestling. I like his mentality on a lot of things, but he does fly way off the handle sometimes, and sometimes I don't understand why he's bitching so hard, and I just think somebody with that much pent-up anger can't really live a happy life at the end of the day, which is sad because Jim Cornette is a legendary manager, and he really is a smart wrestling person, one of the smartest this business has ever seen. So why he gets so angry and upset and literally wants to murder people and gets restraining orders put on people, and he's in his late 50s now, still wishing death on other people that he's worked with in the past. I don't know why he is the way he is, but I still like Jim Cornette, and he has said some rotten things about Santino Marella. He's told the story time and time again, how he slapped the shit out of him in OVW when Santino was in developmental, and he was supposed to sell the boogeyman's entrance and act scared, and instead he was laughing or smiling or something like that. And I've watched the video of this, and you can barely even tell. He's just playing the role of an audience member. Who looks at the audience faces when shit's going down with wrestling talent? So apparently he was laughing instead of being scared. Jim Cornette got pissed off, got in his face, slapped him a bunch of times, and then told the story over and over in shoot interviews what a stupid, idiotic piece of shit that Santino Marella is, and he is nothing in the wrestling business and doesn't deserve a spot and blah, 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 right? So I guess they finally bumped into each other, and Santino got in his face, and somebody started recording, and they're arguing hard. And it was funny. I tweeted something about this. I'm like, wow, that video was crazy. And what surprised me the most is I made a comment that Jim Cornette was fearless. And a lot of people were immediately like, what are you talking about? Santino would kick his ass. He's half his age. He has an MMA background. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Chill out. I know that. I'm not fucking stupid. What I said is that Jim Cornette was in Santino's face, pointing at him, calling him a motherfucker. I know that Santino would kill Jim Cornette in about 2 seconds. Jim Cornette, in my mind, must be crazy to be yelling and screaming at Santino that much. Jim Cornette should be doing everything he can do to avoid a physical confrontation here. And instead, he's yelling right back at Santino. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching this video. I'm like, when is Santino just going to knock him out? I was just waiting for that to happen. So I thought that was kind of a funny situation. Both men have made statements about it on social media. Santino posted a long one, and I read that. You can check that out. Go to Twitter, Facebook, or I don't know, just Google it, and I'm sure you can find the statement from Santino Marella where he gives his side of the story, and he gives fans a background on what the heat between the two is to begin with and how it all started back in OVW all those years ago. And given who Jim Cornette is, and given all the heat he has with so many people, and how many people he buries, I'm not surprised that from time to time at a convention or somewhere, another talent or another person in the wrestling business confronts him. We all know the heat that he has with Vince Russo. He doesn't like Joey Ryan. He doesn't like the Young Bucks. There's all sorts of people he doesn't like. And when he runs into them at conventions, sometimes somebody might confront him. And that's what happened here with Santino Marella. So, you know, I can see it from Santino's side. I remember back in the 6th grade, I had just moved down to North Carolina from Michigan. And I did something wrong in class, or I was goofing off with one of my friends, and they actually spanked me. I'm old enough to be in school when they fucking hit you. And this fat fucker teacher dickhead takes me out in the hallway with another kid, and he goes, "You're gonna get 5 licks." That's what they call them, licks. And he takes this wooden fucking paddle, something you'd find in a goddamn fraternity, and he wears my ass out. And 30 years later, I still said to myself, it's a good thing I don't know where this bastard lives, because I would show up at his house at 40 years old and bang on his door and say, hey, it's payback time, motherfucker. So I know all about having the desire to confront somebody that has done you wrong in the past. And I'm sure we can all relate to what Santino was going through. I'm sure we all have stories, whether it be at work or whether it be at school or in your life, where somebody really does you wrong or treats you like crap. And, you're in a situation where you can't do anything about it. But then years later, you are, and you can confront them and tell them what a lousy piece of shit you think they were. So Santino, back then, he had just signed with the WWE a couple of months before. If he gets in Jim Cornette's face, or if he beats the shit out of Jim Cornette after he slapped him in OVW, then he could lose his job. So anyway, I'm kind of on Santino's side in this, even though I like Jim Cornette and I love him to death. He needs to expect that from time to time, somebody's going to get in his face, because he's talked a lot of shit about a lot of people. Santino is probably just the first of many to confront Jim Cornette if he keeps making personal appearances. And speaking of personal appearances, apparently he was at the Bruce Pritchard live show in Detroit like the next night, and he flashed his cock to the audience. Jim Cornette, what is wrong with you? What are you doing, man? I still don't know if that's legit or not. I have not seen an actual picture of Jim Cornette's cock, which I guess that gives away that, yes, I did Google that, and I was looking for it. Please don't unsubscribe me for that, but I was just curious if it really happened or not. And so far, I have not seen any picture of Jim Cornette's dick. I've just seen like a censored image. So I don't know if that really happened or not, but if it did, I don't know what this guy is thinking. Who knows? Maybe Jim Cornette is starting to lose his marbles. Other than that, I don't really have anything else written down other than there were some reports that I saw yesterday that Conor McGregor has potentially been in talks with WWE to make some sort of an appearance. One can only guess this has to be WrestleMania. Same goes with Ronda Rousey. We know that she's basically a shoo-in to work with WWE at some point. And I think a WrestleMania match with one or both of these two is very likely. It could be a mixed tag type of situation or something like that. And McGregor, a lot of people have said, would make a great WWE star. I've said the same thing. I don't like the guy. I think he's a cocky fucking asshole, and he drives me insane, but that's exactly what wrestling is all about. This guy could probably get great heat. This guy could cut great promos if you teach him how to cut a wrestling promo and not an MMA promo. He's got a shit ton of charisma. He's got a good look. He's a great athlete. And I think he could translate well into a WWE ring. So if WWE is trying to put something together for him to come in and work a big-time match at WrestleMania, that could be awesome. As far as who he would work against, I don't know. You would have to put him in the ring with the most credible guy you would have. I don't know, maybe Brock Lesnar. Could you imagine that? Brock Lesnar versus Conor McGregor? That would be a mismatch. Conor's going to have to be in there with someone a little closer to his size. But it looks like Conor McGregor making an appearance in the WWE some point in the future is extremely likely. And that's good. I think that can be big business for them. And WrestleMania 34 should be pretty interesting. So anyway, that's it for this week. I think I'm out of here. I will be back up here next week, regular time. If anything crazy happens in the wrestling business between now and then, check my Twitter and follow me at GoodMicWork. And if it's a really crazy news story, I might even come up and make a video on it, depending what happens. But otherwise, I should catch you in about a week for episode 462. So you guys have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I'll talk to you very soon. Until next time, peace.